try to concentrate more on progress rather than perfection, and you'll move the things forward.
Ideas are easy, execution is hard. What, though, separated your execution from everybody else?
Imagine how hard it is to start your business, right? And then multiply that by infinity. If you're still committed, then you'll see it through.
The first time that I ever had Raising Cane's, I bite it, my mouth is suddenly scalded. I felt like a child who had never eaten soup before. We all got to eat and we all got to start somewhere. Welcome to the show, founder of Raising Cane's, Todd Graves.
Hey, and Josh, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm a big fan, as you know.
Stop it, man. I'm a big fan of you.
I think this show is great because it blends two things I really like, which is food, of course, and then just really good conversation, you know. I love how you get some good points from people, and I pick up stuff on every episode I watch.
I think you just like the show because you saw Post Malone eating Raising Cane shirtless on Last Meals once, and then that's where you're actually coming from.
That's when I became a super fan, for sure.
So what we're going to do today is we are going to sort of take stock of your entire life through the lens of food. We're going to look at one of your childhood meals, one of the meals that you ate while you were hustling really, really hard building your business, and then one of the meals you used to celebrate your success. Have you ever really tried to break down your life in that fashion before?
No, never have, but I love how you do it, so I'm looking forward to this journey today.
Hey, you and I are on this journey together, man. And we got a cold beer in our hands, and sometimes that's all that matters.
Cheers, brother.
You ready to get down to it?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Todd, for your childhood meal, we have the proper Cajun dark roux gumbo. Now, this is with sausage and chicken, and then we got the Louisiana-style rice right in the middle. We have a little bit of toasted French bread with butter, popped in a super hot oven just to get it nice and crispy. And then this one is new for me. This is something called a sensation salad.
Yeah, it's a Baton Rouge original. Yeah, my hometown.
Sounds like you had food really be a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You know, for a long time. And then you went to high school. You said you kind of bridged the gap between like the jocks, the honors kids, the theater kids, which I imagine like really helped you as you ended up managing large crews of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, food is a uniter, right? Food symbolizes love to me, right? And so growing up in my mom's kitchen, we cooked Cajun and Creole food, and we made a gumbo together, right? And a gumbo you can actually make, you know, in an hour, a little bit longer, but we drag it out all day, right? Because it's her and I spending time together. And we're actually cooking this gumbo for our friends and family, and it's a way to say, I love you, right? And get to enjoy something good together.
I mean, please dig in.
Yeah, let's dig in. We'll see if you got it. Well done.
We did all right?
Well done. That's an authentic Louisiana gumbo right there.
I think one of the greatest ironies is that how much you grew up cooking Cajun Creole food, and then how little Cajun Creole food Raising Cane serves.
When I wanted to open Raising Cane's, I wanted to have a good flavorful meal, but I didn't want it to be regional. I didn't want it to be Cajun. I didn't want it to be extra spicy. I wanted it just to be good, full-flavored meal.
That's interesting because at that time, too, that was when, like, Cajun cooking was really, really taking off. So it would have made sense you would have jumped in there, but obviously it worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, you know what? I believe in doing one thing and doing it better than anybody else. Focus, and that's why Cane's has that focus menu, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's a simple menu. Well, it's actually what we put together is not simple, right? It's the right chicken. Yeah. It's marinated, like brine for 24 hours, hand battered and breaded. Hand battered and breaded and goes down that one fry line and then goes out the door.
Yeah. Please, man, can we dig into the sensation salad?
Absolutely.
Again, like I said, this is brand new to me.
Now, so this is a Baton Rouge original, started by the DeStefano family, actually an Italian family in Baton Rouge, and they created this. So you can tell it's going to be a little bit Italian, right?
It looks like Caesar salad's cousin. It's got the Romano cheese instead of the Parmesan. It's got iceberg lettuce instead of romaine, loaded with garlic.
Absolutely. Very simple, right? But very flavorful. So French bread, right? Obviously, we're very French in Louisiana. So French bread, just a loaf, is our absolute go-to. Some people like to cook the whole loaf, cut it, and put butter on it. I prefer to cut it and let it exactly like y'all did.
I like the crispy little edges, man.
And butter it up and dip in your gumbo.
Todd, this is the best time, dude. Why don't we do this more often?
We should. I got a little surprise for you later, too.
Yeah?
Well, maybe.
You weren't one of those people that really knew exactly what you wanted to do early on, right? It took you actually going to college, experiencing life a little bit, working in restaurants to know that food is your calling. Was there one single moment that you realized, oh, this is what I want to do with my life? This is how I want to spend my time?
Yeah, you know, so I went to college for writing for television and film, actually. I like to write screenplays. Was creative, and I was really interested in that. But I mean, look, I grew up an entrepreneur. I was a kid in the neighborhood that had the lemonade stand, or I'd go cut people's grass. And, you know, I saw some older kid do some stenciling of address labels. I learned how to do that. And so I was always out there making money. So I was in college. I worked high school, college, in restaurants. Loved the business. Well, towards my senior year, I was like, when it came time to decide really what I was going to do, you know, to support myself, I was like, you know what? if I want to go out to Hollywood, push brooms and go through that, I think someday I'll be successful. But I know this me doing a restaurant, I knew the business. I know I'll be successful at this, and it's a passion of mine. So I said, man, let's go for it. So enlisted in a business planning class. I had a partner there. This was at LSU. I wrote the Bible on chicken fingers. I mean, I wrote a thick business plan. Actually, I could show you that business plan too.
You have the original
if
still?
you'd like to see. Absolutely, I do. Got it back from the bankers. We went and took it around.
I am... Wait, no, this is the original.
Yes.
The original.
This is the original business plan.
That's incredible.
Oh my gosh.
It looks like an Irish bar and grill in New Jersey, and I'm into it.
Craig and I had a friend, and he always called everybody Folly. We literally wrote this plan. We didn't have a name for it, so we called it Folly's Fingers of LSU. The professor gave me the worst grade in the class. All right. But he said, hey, look, you did a great plan. I mean, I knew what aprons would cost that week to get cleaned, right? So I knew everything about the business. He said the plan itself was solid and very well thought out, but you didn't study the industry. And all the quick service are adding menu items because there's a thing called the veto vote, right? So there's somebody in the car, just one person in the car says, well, I don't want that because it doesn't have it for me. They said they're just going to pass up your place and go eat somewhere else. And so for me, it didn't deflate me. I actually understood what the professor was saying, if you didn't know on the surface. And then the professor also just lost the fact that, look, people love craveable food.
Yeah.
And serving craveable food that you can literally execute on a great level every day is always going to be a success. And so, look, I'm just an entrepreneur, man. That first no, it just fired me up, man. I used it as fuel. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show that professor that I am going to be a success and that this actually will work. And took that business plan, bought a cheap suit, bought a briefcase from Office Depot. And I don't know if you remember them, but they're the fake leather with the brass combination locks.
Yeah, it's like the movie briefcase. It looks like a movie prop.
Yeah, exactly. Literally went in and saw every bank, had a business plan in there. They were nice enough, but this, same response. You want to serve just chicken fingers, but every one of those knows. Fired me up that much more, right? So then I had to go, which is a whole other story. Then I had to go raise money.
Somebody once said to me, ideas are easy, execution is hard. And it sounds like you frankly didn't have the most unique idea, right? Which I think the professor was probably commenting on. It sounds like you know that a little bit. What though separated your execution from everybody else's?
When I was in college, I was part of the entrepreneur club. And so I saw these people had good ideas, right? But then I saw along the way that they would stop doing it, whether it's like, I'm going to go rent and get a thing to steam clean your carpets, right? But when it got hard, they just quit and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go work for a bank or I'm going to go do these different things. And so when I set my mind out to start Raising Cane's, and then my partner, then Craig, I was like, look, we need to do this, but we have to commit to this. I mean, through success or failure, we don't stop. And he's like, okay, man. I said, no, I don't think you really know what I'm talking about, man. Let's go out and camp. So we went camping in North Carolina. We're around a campfire. I was like, we're going to commit to this, right? So I had this intuitive sense after I got in the bad grade in the business planning class, things like that. I was like, you have to see this through, right? How many great ideas did entrepreneurs stop middle down the way? So when I talk to a business class and people ask me, what do you need to really make it? I'm like, imagine how hard it is to start your business, right? And then multiply that by infinity. And if you're still committed to see that through, because you're going to have so many hard times, it's so hard to raise money. Most people can tell you it's a bad idea. If you're still committed, then you'll see it through. And sure enough, it worked out for me.
You ready to get to the next course?
I am.
Now, Todd, for the hustle meal that brought you through the toughest times, there's a bit of foreshadowing here. We have the chicken top ramen. We have the Food Club pork and beans sitting directly in some coals. We have the giant brownies with the walnuts in it. Then we have some coffee, a bottle of Jack Daniels. You knew you wanted to start what was then called Folly's Chicken Fingers at the time, and you didn't have the money to start it. So you asked a friend, where can I make money quick? And you ended up in an oil refinery, and then through a series of events, end up in the Alaskan tundra, which is where we find ourselves with all these foods. You really had the hero's journey all the way through.
I did. I was so fortunate for that, right? It was an adventure. And working in refineries, the Boilermakers were the first ones that were encouraging to me. They knew I was out there working hard, raising money for this chicken finger dream. And so one of these Boilermakers, his nickname, everybody had nicknames, was Wild Bill. And Wild Bill spent his summers working the Alaskan fishing trade. And he said my name was Hollywood. That's a whole nother story.
Did you have the long hair, or what was the Hollywood nickname?
We were working in refineries here in Torrance and in El Segundo. We had one night off, and one night off in like 12 weeks. I ended up in Hollywood late the next day for work. Went to the old the Viper Room, Johnny Depp's old bar, and then it was I met Drew Barrymore walking in. I was like, wow, this is Hollywood. Anyway, late for work, and so they gave me that nickname. But Wild Bill said, Hollywood, you're a hard worker. I believe you're going to get this dream, but if you really want to make some money, and I know you're hard working and you're not scared, you need to come up to Alaska and work in the sockeye fishing trade. And I was like, great, well, how do I do that? He goes, you need to go to Naknek, Alaska. I'm like, where is that? He says, above the Aleutian chain. How do you get out there? He's like, fly into Anchorage, catch a plane, float plane out to King Salmon, Alaska, and just hitchhike your way up to Naknek. Okay, then what do I do? Well, we'll bring a tent and to camp out in Tent City. They'll let you camp out there and go talk to the boat captains every day before they go out and say, hey, I'd like to get a job on your boat as a greenhorn. And we went up, man, I lived on that tundra, which actually isn't that bad. It's actually very soft. It's got the permafrost.
Yeah, tundras get a bad name these days. Tundra's not too bad.
It's not too bad at all. And it's like down below, it's permafrost. I mean, it's literally ice, but then it has this moss on top, so you can put your tent out there. And us out there trying to get a job, there was, I don't know, probably 20 of us out there. And look, we're all broke. We're all out there to make money. So it's like, what do we live off of? And you had no refrigeration, right? And so we go to the little grocery store and buy ramen noodles, and they still make this brand, which is classic, right? And pork and beans and cheap things like that we could heat up over a fire in a camp stove and eat for very cheap. I think back then you could get a thing of ramen for maybe 50 cents. This was probably 75 cents for a thing of pork and beans. And you could eat for under $2 every meal, and you got all the substance you needed.
I'm so incredibly excited that I get to share these memories with you because this is utterly wild.
Oh my gosh, we ate ramen so many different ways that when we do it, you probably did this too. When it was just even dry and you put the seasoning on it, just eat it that way because you had 100%. Too much boiled. But it still brings out good memories. And everywhere I travel, let's say I rent a Verbo house or whatever, our team always puts top ramen in there because late night, go back and make it up, brings back good memories.
That's so funny, man. I love that you twirl it on the fork like it's a beautiful plate of spaghetti carbonara. I think there's a certain type of person that's attracted to intense environments. And I think you tend to see a lot of athletes. I think actors also tend to do that. You played sports. You were in theater. You seem to be really attracted to working in restaurants, which is an incredibly intense environment that people who haven't worked in them don't quite understand. Was there something about your unique personality type that attracted you to the oil refineries and to the tundra to go sockeye fishing?
Yeah, I think it's just testing yourself to the limits, right? Yeah. And so can I work a 95-hour work week around heavy machinery, the stuff I've never done before? Yeah. Bringing in big flanges on some 10-story tower and learning this stuff and doing that brings you to limits. Can I work 20-hour days during the peak of the season in the Alaska fishing trade, which I thought was just an amazing adventure, but can I do that, right? Can I work in the restaurant every hour that is open for as long as I have to for months and months on end? That kind of thing tests me, and also it keeps you sharp, right? It keeps you humble. It makes you work hard for things, and that environment of just pushing yourself, it just keeps your energy up, right? You're never tired.
Can I ask, what is the significance of this bottle of Jack Daniels? And can I pour you up a shot?
I would love one, please. So, we're out there, we're broke, we're eating ramen noodles, tuna fish out of the can with a little mustard, pork and beans. We're really getting tired of this food, and we didn't have any money to spend on anything else, but my mother sent a care package out to Naknek, and the postman came by. Our camp thing, is Todd Graves out here? I said, yes, sir. And there was this big box that my mother sent, and we opened up that box, everybody in Tent City, and I pulled out my mom's amazing brownies that she made that she sent out all the way to Alaska. A big bottle of Jack in the middle. I think she sent me a carton of cigarettes, which is hilarious, your mom doing that. But it was just goodies from home. And what happened out there, if you got anything, everybody shared. So we all broke out the Jack, poured it in cups similar to this, and we got to enjoy some brownies and just a little taste of home, get us out of our element for a second, and it just tasted so good.
Yeah. Hey, cheers, man.
Cheers, brother. Still tastes good. I think of that every time I have a sip of Jack.
It probably tastes better in the tundra, but it still tastes pretty good now.
Still tastes good, huh?
This is a bit of a philosophical question, but do you think the personality type that you have that attracts you to these intense experiences, do you think that is nature, or do you think that's nurture? Do you think there was somebody deep maybe in your childhood that really encouraged you, like, hey, this hard work is something that it shouldn't feel like the grind. It shouldn't feel like something that saps energy from you, but should actually give you energy.
Yeah,
so I think it's a rare personality.
No, it's a great question. So I think it's both. I think it's nature and nurture. I think along the way, it was teachers and coaches that inspired me to do the best, right? My track coach, Clanny Duplichin, I mean, his whole...
What was that name?
Clanny Duplichin.
Clanny Dublechet.
He pushed us all to do your best, personal best. And so that personal best thing got in my head was that, look, even when I was younger and I wasn't starting on the 4x1, but I was that color off, he was like, it's okay. Keep doing your personal best. And so, like, for me, as I've carried that all the way, it's like personal best. But with that, your personal best meant you're going to work your ass off, you're going to train, you're going to earn it, you're going to do it, and you're going to be a good athlete, you're going to stay good in school. Those types of things, like, inspired me, I take those things with me and still carry them today.
Do you remember your javelin personal best?
I threw like 180.
Anytime I can nerd out about specifically the throws events with somebody, I have to take that opportunity to do it. This man, javelin 4x1 double. Trackheads, sound off in the comments. You know how rare and how awesome that is. That idea of the personal best, that is also something that drove me, and it's something that drove me specifically to track, which was an individual sport.
Right.
I love working in a team environment, but also I love controlling my own destiny in a certain way.
Absolutely.
So when you're in the Alaskan tundra, these brownies are like some of the best things I've ever eaten.
I mean, and y'all nailed it too. This is all, Mom, it's not as good as yours, but it's pretty dang close.
Mama Graves, thank you for the recipe. We intentionally made them slightly worse than yours. You're welcome so much.
And literally called my mother for the recipe, which is great.
But was there a number in mind that you had that you needed to save? And once you reached that number, did you immediately come back and you're like, I'm opening the first Sockeyes chicken fingers, then Raising Cane's chicken fingers on LSU's campus?
Yeah, no, I didn't. And so I just knew I had to make as much money as I could in the time period I can. So this wonderful man, Red Reynolds, was an amazing guy. And we started at North Gates of LSU, and we loved this location, but it was this dilapidated old place, right? And it had been different college concepts, right? Everything from t-shirt shops to everything else. This broker who was doing it for a family, Tallulah Arbor, she was 94 at the time, and he said, Tallulah, I think Todd's he's gonna make sure you're gonna have a long-term tenant. I believe in him, but he has to raise the money, right? And so I told him, I said, hey, I gotta go out and raise money now. Will you save the place for us? He said, I've already talked to Tallulah, but you have to come back. You got 1 year to do it. He did right by us. We're there, and the family still owns the lease, and we still go on and do. But him doing that, so I just knew I had to make as much money as I could, in the shortest period of time I could, and the highest paying jobs I could. And it actually turned out well. I came back. I probably made 50,000, something like that. And this is back in 1995. That's
like $3 million. Yeah.
I don't know whatever it is good.
At that point, was it not even about you making the money, but it was almost about showing other people that drive that you had?
Absolutely. So well, that was the payoff, right? I was just out there going, I'm going to do it. But when I came back, they were like, man, you're so determined on this. I heard you talk about this before, but now I know
icicles
you really
in your
are.
Beard from Alaska.
You're like, you are committed to this. And look, it's a chicken restaurant. And on the North Gates of LSU, feeding college kids, I believe you can make it work. So I can't remember how much I raised preferred shares, maybe 100. I can't remember what it was, but there was people that Boilermakers I worked with invested $10,000. My bookie gave me $10,000 in cash, right? I was like, is this legal? And the accountant's like, yes, you just will 1099 or whatever they do with that. Funny. So I had enough money not only to open and do the renovations, but also to have a little bit of cash, just in case sales weren't good. And they were all right. We made $30 the first month.
$30 profit.
30 whole bucks. But
the fact that you didn't make negative several $1,000s is insane considering the restaurant industry.
100%. It meant I could pay my crew. I could pay my vendors. I could pay rent. I could make payroll. Everything was paid for, right? And then we just slowly built that sucker up and it started making money. And 18 months later, I opened the second Raising Cane's, another SBA loan, but I actually bought the property. And I say this because if you want to start a business, that's how quickly it can change. Literally 18 months later, after fishing in Alaska and reconstructing this old dilapidated place into a restaurant, I bought the property, built a building, dine-in, drive-through, full parking, everything, and that's what really set us off.
When you were in Alaska, when you were going through this very intense grind period, trying to open that first location, did you have it in your mind that I don't want one location, I don't want one restaurant?
I wanted one location, that was what I wanted. I wanted a cool place where I could hang out with people around my age, college students, and feed college students, which I knew. But the interesting thing, when we opened the second location, I thought it was just a college concept, right? But the traffic flow was also people in town, and so I had, moms and dads stopping on the way home to get food for the family. I had t-ball teams on Saturday and church groups on Sunday. I was like, man, this could be everywhere. And that's the point I said, you know what? That's where I got the vision. I'm like, I can put this anywhere. I can grow this. And I really got that thing inside me. And you'd ask why? Why did I want to do it? Because it didn't equate to dollars then. It was just like, I love building teams. I love building something and growing. And that's when I got the fire to really grow it.
Yeah. We got to drink this coffee. I imagine it fueled you throughout the entire experience.
It's Louisiana Community Coffee, which is what we drink, and then that came in that care package, and I kind of turned everybody into believers. We actually make some coffee, cowboy coffee, right? Yeah. Boil it, put it in the bottom of the deal. And we didn't even have a strainer. We just poured it into the grinds. The grinds would almost go in there.
End up with a mouthful of sand at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheers.
But it was good coffee, good strong coffee.
Sure is. I wanted to ask, what was the deepest point of struggle throughout this whole adventure?
Fishing on an Alaskan fishing boat, and we're catching so much fish that literally it's like you're almost getting waves come in and sink the boat. So out there you'd hear on the medical radio, you hear so-and-so got thrown out with nets and drowned. You're hearing people die and doing things. And then all that work, and then you go back and you're like, then I came back and all the guys are out, we're still fishing, right? And I got lonely that night. It's just lonely, right? That was kind of like those different times. So the struggle was just keeping yourself going, keeping yourself sharp. But man, the struggle makes it so much sweeter, right, in the deal. But it's just keeping yourself going, and that's why I just reach out to these people and just say, never ever give up. That's the key to being successful.
That's incredible, man. You ready to move on to the third course?
I'd love to.
Cheers, man. Todd, for your third course, for your success meal, we have the fully loaded pepperoni pizza with extra pepperoni. We have the stuffed Dungeness crab over here, and then we have the deluxe fried seafood platter. We got fried oysters, fried scallops, fried shrimp, and then some fried catfish in there with remoulade, tartar sauce, and cocktail sauce. So you open the second location on the other side of campus, and then fast forward to now with a lot of trials and tribulations in between. You're closing in on 1,000 locations, over $5 billion in revenue. That is such an incredible growth story.
Oh, thank you.
What do these success meals mean to you?
I think it goes back to memories with food, right? And so we all have our growth stories. And when I was broke, we go to these, classic mom and pop seafood places, right? And but we never could afford the seafood platter, right? And so literally I'd get like the roast beef po' boy I could get for $5 with fries and a beer, right? But like the seafood platter was like 30 or 35 bucks. And this one time, my friend, Cajun guy named Randy Young, we were there and he said, I got this new credit card. We're like college students. And back then you could get a credit card, $5,000 limit, but it's like 22% interest rate. And he was like, let's just splurge and get that seafood platter. And we did. We got a seafood platter, looked like this. No meal has ever tasted that good to me since that time.
For me, it's actually really similar to this because I remember my dad talking about the shrimp cocktail at Clearman's Northwoods Inn. Now, when I was a kid, I thought that Clearman's Northwoods Inn was the fanciest restaurant in the world. Turns out it was like a themed restaurant that had like fake snow on the roof, and the shrimp cocktail was probably like $9, but it was something that for me was like the height of luxury, and so I have always held shrimp cocktail to be like the fanciest, most expensive food in the world. Please dig in.
Remoulade sauce, which is the same thing you have in Louisiana here, right? Mm-hmm. And the hot horseradish sauce here, the cocktail sauce, and then the homemade tartar sauce.
Yes, sir. Cheers.
Oh, and the stuffed crab. Mm-hmm. No, we didn't have Dungeness crab. We had blue crabs, which are half this size, but look how brilliant.
Tried to find blue crabs locally, couldn't find them fresh, decided it wasn't good enough to serve you frozen.
This is beautiful. My hat's off to the chef. Incredible.
Thank you. I want to tell you about the first time that I ever had Raising Cane's, because I had seen y'all like advertising during college football, which I watched obsessively. And that was probably the first time I had ever seen the name and seen the logo. And then I'm going to visit my grandma. I was on the corner, I believe, El Toro and Moulton down in Laguna Hills, California. Out of nowhere, I see a Raising Cane's spring up in a new building. I'm like, oh my God, that's the place that I've seen on the commercials. I take the box and I open it. I'm like, some good looking tenders. I love a generally pink sauce. I dip it in. I bite it. My mouth is suddenly scalded with hot chicken juice. I felt
Sorry
like no, you were just doing your job. I felt like a child who had never eaten soup before and just scalded his mouth because I'd never had chicken that was that hot and fresh out of a fast food restaurant. I'd eaten all the other major chicken chains, and you can just throw that in your mouth immediately, and it's pleasantly lukewarm and fine. But I was so impressed, and consistently have been, by like the actual quality and attention to detail. People say that the reason fast food is successful is because of replicability, is because of that consistency. However, we've seen with so many different chains as they expand, that consistency drops.
Yeah, you know, I think what happens with that is, honestly, I think there's a lack of founders that care. Like, you care. Like, I care that everybody gets a good quality, craveable meal in a place that's food safe friendly. We're getting their food fast. Like, I want to earn people's money. So does my crew, right? So when venture capitalists come on, they take controlling interest of the business. And that's when the CFOs jump in and say, you know what? We don't need to make our sauce in-house at every restaurant. You know, we can make it in a commissary. We can put it in vacuum sealed lids and we'll save X. And it's like a death by 1,000 cuts a go, because ultimately, if your motivation is money, then you're not going to care. You're going to let those great quality things go down. You're not going to pay your people well. You're not going to treat them well. You're not going to do this. That's what's happened to fast food, man. So you care about people, meaning your own crew and then your customers. Like, I take an expression myself. I want them to have a meal that they say, like, your first time you remember, Raising Cane's, I had a great meal. It's craveable. I'm going to be back, but they treated me right? That's what makes me happy.
Where do you see the ultimate end goal? Is there a point where you're like, hey, we have expanded enough, or we've done enough? Or, I mean, are you one of those people who, like, I want to see a Raising Cane's on every single continent?
It's that. That's the vision. I want to have locations all over the world.
The Antarctic Research Institute, Raising Cane's.
I want to be right next door there, right? And even if it's just a little stand of me out there doing it, feeding the researchers, right? I'll be out there.
He's got experience with the cold, folks. Mom will mail him brownies.
So for me, it's like, you start off, you have a dream. You got to be passionate and determined, focused, work hard. You got to make that happen. If you are open to it, you get purpose, right? And so my purpose is ultimately to help people, right? I have 75,000 crew members. Most people's first job comes on with me at Cane's, right? They learn good values. They have a place that's fun, but we work hard. We have fun. We have positive motivational management. That's why you see people are happy, right? Yeah. So you do that. They carry it on to other jobs, or a lot of them stay with us and become great leaders in our company. And so it's that people, then also with money you can make, and it's getting to where we're making really good money, is then I can give back to do meaningful things to help out, whether it's any community cause, small or big. You can also give back. So when you have that purpose, there's no end to that, right? There's no, I got to this point and sell now, No, it's like, it should be multi-generational. Some of my kids are in the business, because the larger we get, the more we have, the more we can help people.
Yeah. What's the story behind the pizza?
Oh,
this is a very, very loaded pizza.
The pizza's gorgeous. It looks a lot better than the one that I had. This was in Alaska. It goes back to that story again.
Thank you.
And eating ramen noodles and pork and beans and all those good things. On the boat, actually, I was the chef because I was from Louisiana, right? There's 4 on the boat, so I cooked the meals too. We had a lot of salmon, which was great. I actually made salmon roe. You take the salmon roe, and these are all fishermen out of Washington. They thought it was crazy. I think the egg sack, I put it in a bowl and put salt on it, right? And I would eat the bowl of it, and so they eventually tried it and liked it. We got done fishing in Bristol Bay. We went down to Seward, Alaska. They actually had a hotel there. They didn't have that up in Naknek. They had Tent City. And man, we were like, me, Craig, and then this other guy, we were like, you want to all go in threes and get a hotel room? Like, we can watch TV, and there's like air conditioning and a heater at night. And we rented the hotel room. I remember it was like one bed, 2 of us up on the floor. I was one of them. We played rock, paper, scissors. And I remember we got a pizza, which was the biggest delight. Literally came in, and we ate a pepperoni pizza. And like I said, these 2 meals, nothing will ever taste as good as those meals I had just splurging for a second. That was success to me.
Cheers.
Oh, man, your team knocks it out.
So many people, they think of things like caviar and Wagyu and truffles and foie gras when they think of like the most expensive success meals. But especially as a chef, somebody who tells stories through food, it's just a feeling. It's a feeling of making somebody feel accomplished or feel cared about, right?
100%.
It's the feeling of seeing an employee when you walk in to Raising Cane's. For me on the West Coast, it was In-N-Out, where I was like, why do the people behind the counter there seem so much happier than the people behind the counter at
another place, right?
Right. How do you keep those people actually bought in, especially when you have damn near 1,000 locations? Yeah,
it's just caring, right? Look, I've started the first restaurant, and my crew worked so hard, like literally worked so hard. And one night they all got together and said, hey, can we have a meeting with you after the shift? I said, yeah, it's like 3:30 in the morning. And they're like, how we came in, we wanted a part-time job while we're in school. I'm like, yeah, how's it going? They're like, we're all working like 90-hour shifts, Todd. We're failing out of school. We got to hire some more people. And I was like, I was so grateful for that crew. They were part of my dream. working hard to fuel that. And so what that did was that created what our culture's built off of: appreciation for the crew that's working so hard, appreciation for our customers coming in and helping us. And that's where it goes. So if you have a culture built on appreciation, you're going to do the right things and you're always going to care about them. Like, so specifically, when you say, hey, what are we doing? My thing is how the crew doing. You can see on crew surveys, you can see how things are going. You can actually drill in on places that's not good. It's usually because the leader's not good and not treating them well and doing all the things. What it is so, like, when I interview people, it's like, if I interview somebody that's young, it's, do you like serving people? When I hire people for executive positions, I hate that word, but like that deal is, I ask them, what motivates you? And when you hear about things about like, purposeful things, I like to take, I like what we can do through our business to help people, blah, blah, blah. You have that aura. If you hear, well, I want to build this, I want to go from this job to this, then I want to do this, and it's title hopping and then I know that person's not going to work out in our business. So the whole thing is continually to bring good people in that believe in your values, right? Believe in your non-negotiables, believe in the things that make you up. And then you display with that leadership constant things. So I created this department called Cane's Love. It's a whole department called Cane's Love. Started from the first restaurant when people, we just said, hey, here's a little Cane's Love. Here's a coffee card to the place down the street, because you came in on 3 shifts and you went out and cleaned the dumpster and da-da-da. It's like, hey, thanks for the Cane's Love, right? So I created a whole department fully staffed that's Cane's Love, respect, recognition, rewards for crew members, right? Yeah. Put the dollars towards that. See these amazing programs come through and all these things that actually, that the crew feels appreciated. That's all it is.
Yeah. Was there any point where somebody within the company or from outside the company really like challenge your expertise, and that you realized you had to actually rise to that challenge throughout all of this?
Yeah, constantly, man. You learn more from mistakes than you do successes, I think.
Yeah.
I used to want everything so perfect. Let's say it's a new training program. I wouldn't release it because I wanted it to be this amazing program, and you could just edit the thing every day. And I had an older man told me, hey man, try to concentrate more on progress rather than perfection, and you'll move the things forward. And he said, you're gonna have your ultimate thing you want. Like what you have in your head for this training program, it's coming. Like you will get that program, but start with version 1, that might be a version 100, but push the business forward on that. That was a great challenge, I think, for me, because then I was like, you know what? I am holding up the business. Financial advice. I mean, look, after Hurricane Katrina, we had 21 to 28 restaurants go down. I had to over-leverage the business, doing some really creative financing. Really creative. Wasn't smart at all.
You had to go back to the bookie that financial investment.
I need a little loan. But that told me never over leverage the business, right? I could have put us out of business.
Is there a moment that you think you'll be able to recognize that you're, say, expanding too fast, that you're, say, doing too much, that something is wrong? How do you know when to actually recognize that? Because a lot of people can get just lost in the sauce of forward.
Yeah. I go off past experiences. So moving out of Louisiana, we opened up in Houston and Dallas, right? I'm really excited about these big markets. You got a lot of people from Louisiana there. We have a little brand recognition. I put 2 of our best general managers, one in Dallas, one in Houston, and literally burned them out and didn't give them the support they needed, right? And so they were great general managers, but they were around our ecosystem. They weren't the people that were set up it remotely and independently, right? I didn't know how to look for that. And then the second thing, we didn't give them the support services to go with that. So these restaurants did terrible, like they were just dead. I learned from that. So right now we're opening about 100 restaurants a year. Other concepts that have been around, I've been around 29 years, are opening 200 restaurants. They're opening way more. And even bankers will ask, like you have plenty of capacity, but you can open up more restaurants. We're like, no, this is what we can do to operate restaurants really well right now.
You've seen companies that, say, founded in 1948 and have slowly been matriculating along. Todd, we ask every guest, if you were to have a conversation with 14-year-old you, telling him about what has transpired in your life, what do you think 14-year-old you would say to you now?
Like I said earlier, we're talking about concentrate more on progress rather than perfection, was probably something I would tell myself then to do that. But I think what I would do too is like, hey, this is going to be a long journey and it's going to be really, really hard, and try to take better care of yourself. Like try to get some decent sleep, which I still don't. Try not to drink so much because you're so worn out at the end of the night. You got to set your mind off.
This is non-alcoholic.
You got to.
This is.
No, it's a real deal, and things like that, because your health is very important on things. But I still am struggling with that. But I
also very tough for a 14-year-old to actually internalize. You know what I mean? That's
true too. Yeah. I'm going back like myself now. I was 14.
Exactly.
I probably would have just taken care of myself physically a little better along the way. But,
yeah.
There's always hope for tomorrow, right?
Hey, man. tomorrow, but for today, it's pizza, beer, and fried seafood because
Damn straight.
you deserve it truly, man. You've built something absolutely incredible, built something that means a hell of a lot to me, and it means a hell of a lot to me that you're able to stop by today. Truly.
Well, thank you for having me. I love your show. I love what you do. You're built off of purpose as well.
You got anything else to plug?
Believe in yourself, because no one's going to believe in yourself like you believe in yourself. Don't let people discourage you, because they will. Use it as fuel. Work hard, and you will achieve your dreams. We can achieve our dreams in this country, and you will do it. Just don't ever give up.
Hell yeah, man.
But I did want to finish off with just one more meal, and that's my Raising Cane's meal. I brought the Raising Cane's food truck outside. I know you like canes. I got it fresh for you and all the crew. I'd love to go outside and have a little Raising Cane's chicken finger meal, my friend.
I would be honored. Let's do it.
For some reason, I just love getting my own combo and then splitting the bread apart with my fingers and then tucking everything in there and sealing it back up. I don't know, there must be some like Montessori school childhood thing where I just want to play with my food all the time.
For all you Bigfoot believers, stomp on over to mythical.com and check out a new hoodie, long sleeve tee, and glow-in-the-dark keychain.